Okay, this next person, lots cooler, because he didn't say nothing rude about New Orleans. So we're good. Matter of fact, I'm going to ask you, you ready? Okay, before you come up here, you're going to get your cool points up. You good? Question. What battle was famously fought after the war had ended? Don't let the fact that I'm from New Orleans fool you. What battle was famously fought after the war was over? Genius, the Battle of New Orleans. Good job. We ready. Dude that just got that answer right. So here's what I asked him, all the cool stuff he does. Here's first. He's a bootleg coach. He's trying to teach his kids soccer and tennis. How's that working? All right, good. Okay, how old are they? Mm-hmm. Look at that. He knew both. Clap for him. He knew both. That's unusual for us dads. Also, he is a loyal fan. Get ready to go crazy. A loyal fan of Mississippi State. You got that, man. That's all right. Who do they play this week? Who do they play? You picked Texas for your homecoming game. Okay, good. All righty. And this is important, this brother loves to grill. So later on today, he's going to have a grill set up with some steaks. What else you grilling for us, bro? Cheaper than chitlins. All right, steak and some chicken. He's going to grill that up for us. All right, he's getting all cute. You ready? Are you cute yet? All right, you ready, my brother? All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, please bang your hands together for the best bootleg soccer coach around, Mr. Trevor Acy.
Oh, thank you. Where'd Josh go? Did he disappear? He went in the back. That was fantastic, and I had no idea what he was talking about. We could not, hey, that was great. Demo aside. We could not be further juxtaposed, his and mine, down in the weeds, coding in TypeScript. Now I'm going to bring us way up above the forest and tell a little bit of a story and how we got there. So my plan was to build it, launch it, and then validate it, said a very irate vice president that I was sitting in the room with. Our company had, for the last 2 quarters, spent building a brand new product and launched it, and nothing happened. No customers, no customer traction. The few people that were getting in were bailing very, very quickly. And so they had grabbed people from across the company to try and save this product. So for a little bit of context, previously I was a director of product management up in Nashville at Ramsey Solutions. Dave Ramsey, the radio host guy, if you know him. And we were running a financial service referral platform. So think financial advisors, tax professionals, insurance agents, real estate agents, that sort of thing. And this VP had what seemed like a really good idea on paper, is if we had somewhere where our users could store their financial documents, things like their insurance policies, their mortgages, their tax returns, well, that'd give us a lot of data to better refer our other financial services to people. Makes a lot of sense. But like I said, we had spent a couple of quarters building it, we'd launched it, and there had been no uptick whatsoever. And so they had grabbed people from across the company, we're gonna come in, we're gonna figure out how to save it. Spoiler alert, we did not. We spent another quarter trying to market the heck out of a failing product and ended up shutting it down entirely. This is a pattern I imagine most of us in the room are familiar with. A lot of organizations still use it, even if they say they're agile, or worse yet, if they say they're doing agile, which that makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It often starts with an idea, usually from a leader, vice president, director, manager, something. You'll notice biz case there is in quotes because, man, it is always just a perfect business case, right? This thing is going to go gangbusters. We're going to make a ton of money. They lay out the roadmap. Here are the deliverables. Here's the timeline. Okay, go design and build this thing. Maybe it takes a couple of sprints. Like I said, in our case, it was a number of quarters to actually get the whole thing built up. If we're lucky, we test before we launch it, sometimes test in prod. And then you get it out there. You get it out in front of people for the first time. You know, cross your fingers, say a little prayer, hope it works. But the tragedy is by the time we actually get to the bottom of that waterfall and we actually deploy it, we actually get it out in front of people, yes, now we're measuring things, now we're getting some feedback, but it's too late, right? The budget has already been spent up till that point, and most of the time, the teams have moved on to their next shiny thing, their next priority, their next waterfall project. We spent all our time, getting approvals, putting the team together, scoping it out, and then again, by the time we actually ship it, the budget is spent, right? And we've either been locked into or spin up on our credibility on if this thing's gonna work or not. So the result, products that are well built, sometimes even beautifully designed, go totally unused, right? They're out there, they're live, no one cares. So this figure is from Marty Kagan's book, Inspired, and he points out that this process actually creates risk instead of reducing it. Every step in this chain reinforces our illusion of certainty. Hey, we know what this is gonna be. We know what the requirements are. We know how it's gonna look. We know how it's gonna function. So in short, waterfall is optimized for predictability, but product is about learning. Like learning is the work. So we're gonna talk about the 4 product risks that every product has, every product decision encounters that we need to de-risk before we ship things. But before we do that, we need to at least align on what do we mean when we say product? That's a word that just kind of gets thrown around. Something I've learned moving back to Mississippi is just the concept of digital product management thing is a little nebulous. So again, going to take it from Marty Kagan, godfather of product management. He says, a product is something that solves a real problem for your customers in a way that works for the business. So you can think about it like an equation. Product equals customers times business. Most teams think product is whatever they've been asked to build, right? What's the new feature? What's the new service? What's the new app? But your product is actually the value that your customers get and then the value that your business captures as a result of that. Everything else, the features, the releases, the sprints, all that sort of stuff, that's just how we get there. And so that's why understanding the product risks matter, so we can avoid spending weeks, spending months, spending thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars in some case, building things that never deliver that value to either our customers or to our business, because a product isn't defined by what it does, it should be defined by what it creates. All right, now we're getting into the meat of things. Product risk. So we're clear on that. Like I said, every product decision, down to the new feature, to brand new giant release, experiences the same 4 risk. First, and most importantly, value. Will customers buy it? Will they choose to use it? Will they spend time with it? Will they choose to come back and use it? That's a really important one that gets missed all the times. That's the customer side. Remember our equation, customer, business. All right, now internal, business side. This, I imagine, particularly this room, is really, really good at. Feasibility. Can we do it? Can we build it? Do we have the right team? Do we have the right technology? Do we have the right skills on the team, the right resources to actually pull off this thing and make it real? That's on the business side. That's internal. Back outside, usability. Can our customers figure out how to use it? Does it make sense? Do they know what to do in order to get the value out of it? They might want it, they might buy it, they might choose to use it, but then if they can't actually use it, you can't get the value out of it. And then again, internal, business viability. Does this work for our business? Is it going to make money is usually the main question there, but there's some other ones to consider. So our job isn't necessarily to eliminate every risk in this stack, but we need to be able to identify, like, what are the major ones that if they're not true, right? If they do go bad, will totally kill this idea, right? And we want to test those before we spend the time to build and launch the thing. So we'll go through them one by one, talk about how to de-risk those a little bit. So value risk is the biggest product risk. Will anyone actually use or buy what we're building? This is desirability, right? Some questions to ask, some things to observe. Do people actually have this problem? Like in the case of the product that we were meeting about with the VP, like I said, it made a ton of sense on paper. The business wanted it. It would be great from a data standpoint for us to know all of those things about our customers, but why would they need to go search for, find, sometimes scan, upload these documents into what essentially was like a Dropbox knockoff, right? What value was it for them to go through that process? Sometimes problems are real and customers just simply don't know that they have that problem. Or said another way, they don't care that they have that problem. I can't tell you how many rooms I've been in where the decision has been something along the lines of like, well, we just have to tell our customers that this is a problem that they have. And like usually if you're starting down that path, you're in for heartache, because trying to convince people they have a problem is really, really difficult. Thirdly, the problem might be real, they might know they have it, and is it a big enough problem that they're actually trying to solve it? Or is it not important enough and they just live with it? It's no big deal, all right? And finally, at the end of all that, it's usually where we start, but it actually should be the last thing, is will they use our solution instead of whatever they're doing right now to try and solve that thing. So some ways to approach de-risking this and finding these things out is just start with some real conversations. Customer interviews, customer discovery, and you talk about their past behavior, not their future intent. You want to know what people are actually doing. So you ask them things like, hey, when was the last time that this problem came up? You know, how'd you deal with it? What tools and services did you use to work around it or to solve it, right? What frustrated you most about those solutions, whatever alternatives they're currently using? So what you're listening for is, are people spending their time, their money, their energy trying to solve this problem already? That's your first signal that, okay, we're on the path to some value. They have the problem, they're actively trying to solve it, and the solutions that they have are presenting their own sets of problems. So maybe we can do it better, maybe we can do it different. So again, strong value signals come from those observed behaviors, not stated intentions. People are super nice, they will tell you what they want to hear. If you show them your product and go, hey, do you like this? Will you use this? 9 times out of 10, they say yes, and then they don't. Keep hitting my little microphone thing. To feasibility. So again, this is the one we're probably most comfortable with in this room. Can we actually build it? But we need to deconstruct that into even more specifics to try to flag any technical risk before we get halfway into it or 99% into it and figure out that there's actually a roadblock, right? So can we do it technically, given our tech stack and our data architecture and our infrastructure, right? Can we pull this off? Can we do it securely and reliably? Will it meet our performance standards, our compliance needs, our security needs? You know, how will it operate under what we're hoping, projecting, you know, the load will be, not just in test? Can we do it affordably? This one surprisingly gets missed a lot at the business level, right? What are the actual costs, not just in the time that we're spending building it, but servicing it, maintaining it, improving it? What does that look like at the annual level, multi-year level? What is it going to cost us? And then similarly, can we do it repeatedly, right? Do we have the support structure and scale to maintain this thing? Because we all know everybody's favorite tech debt thing: build it, launch it, leave it, forget about it, and it's going to start deprecating itself quickly. So we want to be able to make sure, if this thing is successful, that we can actually keep running it. So that's where tech spikes come into, right? Let's go and list out all these assumptions that we think might apply to this list, and quickly, before we actually build the thing, see if those things are true. Moving back to the customer side, usability. Can users tell what they need to do? When they first see this thing, when they first look at it, right? Do they know what to do? I think this is where, Apple really shined originally. It was the intuitive interfaces. I don't have to be told what to do. I don't have to have an onboarding guide. I don't have to have a tutorial. Like, I can just figure it out. The simplest way to do this is with user testing. You sit down, you show somebody mock-ups, prototype, wireframe, whatever, and then you give them a single, simple goal to complete, a task to complete in your product, and you shut up. You just watch, and you listen, and you learn. Where do they naturally go to? What do they try to do? What are the things that they are clicking that are absolutely, obviously not buttons that they are trying to make into buttons, right? Where do they get stuck? Where do they get frustrated? What can they not figure out? What mistakes did they make? All those sorts of things. And lastly on this, can they actually tell that they've succeeded in doing that task? That's a UI thing that sometimes gets missed of, did the button actually do the thing that the button said, and does the user know that the button did the thing, right? So usability is really, yes, it's about the design, but it's also about that cognitive load, right? The friction, every click, every label, everything they have to read, everything they have to try to figure out, every hesitation, every mistake, that friction will kill the adoption of whatever you're trying to build just as fast, if not faster, than most bugs. And then finally, again, our viability. This is that bridge between the product that we're building and the business, the viability of the business. All right. Viability asks, does this solution make sense for our business model, our brand, our long-term goals? It's possible that something can totally work for customers and not work for the business. So remember our equation. Even if you had 100 on the customer side, if you multiply that by 0, you do not have a viable product. And that's why this one gets skipped. Again, usually stakeholder, leader, VP has a made up, to use a nice word, totally fictitious, ROI plan for this thing in their head. But then the teams actually building it just go, if we build it right and if people use it, I'm sure the math will work out and it'll be fine. But we need to go a little deeper than that. It's got to be sustaining. So we ask ourselves, does it align with our strategy, right? Does people using this actually move the needle toward our stated goals and objectives and whatever our markers are for success there? Can it sustain itself? There are many, many times, and you could argue there's business cases where you can have a loss leader and that sort of thing, but many times where you've got parts of the business that are subsidizing other parts of the business to keep something going. Should we do it if it can't even sustain itself? Similar to the feasibility side, can we support it operationally? And this is more from like an organizational structure standpoint, right? Do we have the people, do we have the processes in place, the management to keep this thing going? And then does it comply with any of our constraints? Are there any legal considerations, regulatory things, brand promises? Does it go against what we say we are as a business? Think about that as governance and risk piece. And this is actually probably the best place in the risk stack to partner cross-functionally. It's where you can bring in the legal team, partner with marketing, partner with sales, partner with ops, and help them shape what this thing can and should look like, not just kind of review and give a rubber stamp at the end and say, yeah, we'll support it, but then they actually haven't figured it out. Like, get in there with it and co-create this thing with them. So the viability risk reminds us that products aren't just successful when they ship, they're successful when they sustain. Got to be able to keep going. A good product doesn't just work for the users, it works for the business and the business that serves those users. So it's a very fast overview of the 4 risks, but surprise, there's actually a 5th risk. ethical. Should we build it? You don't de-risk ethics. You can't A/B split test your way into if something's ethical or not. So it's a little different than the other four, but it definitely should be considered, right? Some questions to think through there is, could this product cause harm to our users, to any unintentional bystanders and community members, right? Any business partners that we have, anybody in our vendor chain, that sort of thing. A good gut check on this one was if the front page of the newsletter or the top voted thing on Reddit was this product and my name was beside it. Do I feel good about that? Would I be proud of that? Does it respect our users and their autonomy and their privacy? Right? This was another one we ran into on the project. Like I said, we were trying to get people to store a lot of financial documents. And we had a lot of really personal information at hand. Is that being stored securely, safely? Things that we're encrypting the right way, that sort of thing. And then again, similar to the viability piece, but is it aligned with our stated values? As a company, what we stand for, even if it's, legal, if it's okay, if it's possible, there's still the should we do it piece. The best teams know when to slow down, ask those hard questions, look in the mirror honestly, because sometimes that best product decision is simply saying, no, we shouldn't do this. The math makes sense. We'd make a ton of money, but this is wrong. We've got to be brave enough to do those things. I imagine there are some people in here that hopefully are thinking, hey, that sounds great. I would love to be more involved in these kinds of decisions, but I am lowly developer on the totem pole. I'm just being told what my next priorities are and what to build, and you don't understand the environment that I work in, the organization that I worked in, we should be doing this, yes, but we're not, and I can't change that tomorrow. I totally get it, been there, I've existed in those organizations as well. So here's a question list that you can go down that very slowly, just to be honest, but very slowly you can maybe start introducing some of these processes, some of these thoughts. So I stole this actually from another product manager at Ramsey. His name is Power Jensen. He just calls it, that's my great idea questions. So, just like the VP that I was working with who had this great idea about this data storage thing, we've all been there before. Someone walks in, they've got a great idea, and you hear it, and you are rolling your eyes. Oh my gosh, that is never gonna work. For whatever reason, you know that, right? But generally doesn't go very well to say that out loud to them. They get defensive, they dig their heels in, and now we're definitely doing this thing that's definitely not going to work. So the suggestion is redirecting their enthusiasm into collaboration instead of putting them on the defensive. So the first step, as the name implies, they tell you their idea, and you go, that is a great idea. I love that. That is wonderful. We are definitely should do that. What problem are we trying to solve? Now, most of the time, they haven't actually thought about what problem it solves. They just had a great idea, in the shower that morning or whatever. If you're lucky, subconsciously, they are aware that this is filling some kind of need with your users, and this just kind of gets the wheels turning for them to externalize that thinking. Well, actually, maybe it's this, right? So once you can actually get them to articulate a problem or help them articulate a problem, then you ask, okay, great. If we made this thing and it solved that problem, how would we know? What's the proof, right? And this one usually starts with some version of oh, well, they'll tell us. They'll say it's great. They'll like it. We'll, it's something, not quite tangible. So you lean in a little more and you go, okay, great. Sounds good. What metrics are we going to see move when that problem's solved? How will we know it? How will we measure it? Is it usage of this feature? Is it customer support tickets going down? Is it time to value in the app decreasing? What's the thing that we can measure that's going to indicate that this thing is working? Now this next one's my favorite because this is the one that always trips them up. What other ideas did you consider before you decided this was the right one? Almost never are there other ideas. Sometimes they'll start making up some, like on the fly. You can tell that they really had no idea. Sometimes maybe they had a few, but usually that was their first idea about solving that problem. And hopefully you all know our first ideas are usually not our best ideas. You usually got to go through a couple of iterations before we get to the good one. And so then, and this is where you can start nudging into becoming part of the decision-making process. You go, okay, if this is the problem we're trying to solve, and these are the metrics that would move if we solved it, and you've got this one really great idea about it, is it cool if me and my team take a stab at coming up with some other ideas? That if it moves that thing, it solves that problem, that's what we want, right? Now, candidly, sometimes the answer is still no, depending on your environment, right? Like, no, we're still going to do the one I think. And that's fine, because at least now you've got the proof that you're looking for on if their idea works or not. So sometimes you got to begrudgingly still go through that whole waterfall process and build what they're asking for, but at least at the end of that thing, we can look at those metrics and go, hey, we built what you thought. It looks great. It works perfect. The metrics aren't moving. Can we try one of these other ideas? Can we go back to the drawing board? Can we do something else? And you're not going to get full 100% buy-in. Go for it on the first try, but over time, you get really used to asking these questions. In my personal experience, sometimes some VPs would come and say, hey, I've got an idea, and this is what problem it solves, and they start like answering the questions before you ask because they know you're going to answer them. So it takes time, it takes some perseverance. You'll get there. So, like I said, every product decision carries risk, and that difference between good teams and great teams is surfacing those risks early, sharing the responsibility for solving them. Again, in some contexts that I've been in, they've tried to assign those responsibility to the team. Like, all right, product manager, you own value. Designer, you own usability. Developer, you own feasibility. And yes, those roles might have the most insight or the most context to those things, but the best teams share responsibility in solving those things together. Because, kind of like with the great idea thing, every good developer I've ever worked with has had that moment where they've seen something coming and they know it's not going to work, and they don't say something. They don't do anything about it because that's not my role, that's not my job, that's not my lane, that's not my decision, right? But that is your call. The best products get built when, in my opinion, specifically engineers, but everybody on the team speaks up. You throw the flag, you ask the questions. Hey, what about this risk? All right? When we partner cross-functionally within our teams, across departments, across divisions, bring in other voices, right? Instead of just passing it down the line, letting it slide down the waterfall. Because I would say, you are not here to just ship things. You're here to shape the outcomes of those things that you ship. I have no idea what my time was. Felt like that was pretty fast, but that's all I got. Hope you connect.
Great job, great job. Mr. Trevor, I'm going to ask a question for them before we go to break. Let's say you're fancy schmancy. Do you suggest you talk to the head honchos or talk to the regular folks at a company? Let's say, he wouldn't do it, but let's say he's programmed something really cool, right? And he knows it'll solve a problem. Do you go to the regular person first or do you go to the head honcho?
About whether it solves that problem or not?
Right.
I'm going to give you a really product manager answer. I'm going to the customer first. So I don't care what the developer thinks or the head honcho thinks. I care what the customer thinks.
So you would find one of the customers and say, hey, you use his company, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah. Try to get that proof of oh yeah, that is a problem. They are experiencing it. They are trying to solve it.
See, that dude's smart. Thank you, man. You're all right.
All right, appreciate it.